So now that I've bitched and complained about, you know, the connections in the game, and of course, kind of more or less bitched and complained about last year's Bungie Day, and hoping for something special this year, I want to close out this podcast by talking about the remaining exotics that are still in year one that haven't come forward. Now, I talked about this sort of kind of previously, but I didn't really say anything specific. At least I don't think I did. So what I want to talk about exactly here is how I'd like to see these weapons come forward, which is pretty easily summed up, but I also would like to talk about how I'd like to see the weapons changed in either some aesthetic ways or maybe in some other ways that make the weapons, you know, more balanced. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you guys will have a different opinion. Let's find out. So, first things first, let's talk about the raid weapons. You have the Necrochasm and you have the Mythoclast. Both of these weapons were a pain in the ass to get. The Necrochasm was purely RNG based. Necrochasm? Okay, let me try that again. The Mythoclast was completely RNG based, while the Necrochasm was also RNG based, but it wasn't just an individual RNG based. No. You had to go first and foremost and get the Husk of the Pit to drop, which originally was a pain in the fucking ass to get to drop. Since then, they have buffed the drop rates for it. It's very easily obtained. You do the very first quest line for the Dark Below, which is the one where you're outside, where you kill the tank, going to see Sepix Prime, and then you go in and you see Omnigo for the first time. Anyways, if you're a year 2 player, there's a specific quest or mission you have to go do. You kill a specific knight over and over again. He eventually drops it, and then you go and do the next step, which is kill a shit ton of Hive. Holy crap. In year 1, whew, that was painful. It was very painful getting that part done. The best way to do it was, of course, to go to the Dark Beyond initially, but I found a different way to do it, but that's beside the point. Regardless, the Necrochasm questline was a bit of a pain in the ass in and of itself, and the reward was total dog shit. Now, they have adjusted the weapon in some ways to make it more useful inside of PvE, not so much PvP, but ultimately, the answer to how we would possibly get these weapons in year 3 is simple. A quest line that takes us, eventually, back to the raids in which we got the original weapons. And then, there you go. Now, it shouldn't be just go do the raid, get the quest, go do the raid, you're done. You obviously want to tell the original story of the weapon for the new players, even though for the Necrochasm there's not much to it. I mean, you already know what you got to do, but either way, you should have to kind of go through and experience that again. You know, go kill this enemy, he'll drop something, but it'll be a guaranteed drop this time around. You get that, you know, kind of like the No Time to Explain questline. Basically, that's where I'm going with these. If you follow that questline, but the final, the final chapter is, of course, you go, you do the raid, you collect the final piece of this thing, you take it to the gunsmith, whatever, and there you go. Weapon, here it is. Have fun. The Necrochasm, obviously, you'd probably have to go to Eris to get it. For the Mythoclast, probably going to go back to Future War Cult for that one. It just works. It makes sense. So, either way, though, it would be interesting to see how these play out. But I do want to see them changed. And not so much in favor of PvP, but in PvE. Now, for the Necrochasm, I would love to see an option to fire one bolt. You know, maybe give you a shit ton of damage, but it fires one bolt very, very slowly. Basically, the equivalency of high impact scout rifle. Okay, if you had a high impact scout rifle that fired, you know, at full auto, it would fire kind of like bing, 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 you know, pretty fucking slowly. Where if you go with the low impact, it has, or you go with the fire or faster fire rate, it fires at a slower impact, but still, you know, gets the job done. Either way, I'd love to see those changes made to the Mythoclast. because it would balance it for both PvE and PvP, and it would make it, you know, feel new again. Like, you had the year 1 version, which, you know, this was a very powerful weapon in year 1. The Mythic class initially was the most powerful weapon in the game, even more so than the fucking Yalahorn. And then they nerfed it to death. And so you're gonna notice a trend. With the exception of the Necrochasm, all the weapons on this list were all very powerful, and all of them got some kind of a nerf at one point or another. The only one to actually get a buff was the Necrochasm, and that's a debatable buff at that. Regardless, I would love to see, you know, some kind of a change to these weapons. As weird as it sounds, I'd love to see the Necrochasm get switched to either a pulse rifle or have the ability to switch fire rates. Like, it can be a full auto weapon, or it can be a pulse rifle. I know that sounds weird, but I would love to see that switch, and maybe it even has an elemental switch, like it can be arc or solar. Just saying, it would be an interesting way to keep and have an elemental primary that's, you know, interesting. And this is kind of going to the whole, I've mentioned this before, how I want to see the Murmur come forward. Well, what if they took elements of the Murmur and put it into the year 3 Necrochasm? That'd be fucking awesome, dude. So we'll see. Ultimately, everything's up to debate. Bungie eventually is going to do whatever they're going to do, but these are just my ideas and how I'd like to see them come forward. I might do something later on when we know more about these things, if they're coming at all. Who knows? I don't know. I like to talk more specifically about these 2 weapons because I'd love to see some specific changes that would make them, you know, feel more special than they currently do. I mean, they're pretty fucking special and powerful in their own right, but still. So the remaining weapons we have are the Icebreaker, the Pocket Infinity, and the Thorn. The Icebreaker, again, all these weapons, again, should be tied behind some kind of a quest line or an alternate ending to a mission. But Icebreaker, I don't know. I don't know what I'd want to see done to it. I know that I'd love to see it have a little more impact. I would love to see the stats actually get adjusted on the weapon when you pick something differently. Right now, if you happen to have a year 1 Icebreaker, go and play with it. Nothing happens when you adjust the first tier stats. Absolutely nothing. No increase to stability, no increase to impact, no increase to range. I'd love to see that changed. I'd also love the selectable perks to be changed because, let's be honest, they're fucking lame. There's no other way to put it. They're fucking lame. So I'd love to see those changed as well. Again, tie it behind a quest line. Simple, straightforward. But I don't know. The weapon kind of resembles something that Rasputin would do. So seeing as how we're going to have a lot of Siva stuff going on, and obviously there's going to be a lot of Rasputin, I have a feeling that's where it's going to be tied behind. Maybe even just an alternate ending quest mission type thing. I don't know why I'm teabagging a bunch of enemies, by the way. But I think that's where that weapon fits perfectly. But when you mention the Icebreaker, and you, of course, address Rasputin, you have to mention the Pocket Infinity, which was directly related to Rasputin. But what if they changed it? And this is where I'm going to kind of go over everyone's head here with this one, maybe. But what if, instead of it being directly tied to Rasputin, what if the Pocket Infinity got infected by Siva Tech? Yeah, I know, what the fuck? You know, and what if, like the Necrochasm, it had a selectable fire rate, whatever. You could get a very powerful individual stable bolt or something like that. I don't know, something where you had the means to use full auto, or you had like a shotgun fire rate. You pull the trigger and it fires, like an insta fire, or the long charge up, but it just keeps firing. You know, I don't know. I'd love to see something like that. I had a lot more specifics for this weapon, but I'm running out of time here, unfortunately. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over these weapons again in the next set of episodes I'm going to be doing, which will be another podcast. I think I'll talk about them individually, but these are just the basic ideas. I have actually written down some of my ideas for these things, and I want to share them with you guys. Again, these are just my ideas. These are not actually happening. I want to clarify that once again. These are just my ideas. Bungie isn't doing any of this. If they were, that would be fucking awesome. But again, just my ideas and maybe a little speculation as to how I'd like to see them come forward, how they might be coming forward, if they're even coming forward. The last thing I want to talk about or touch on is, of course, the Thorn. You know, there's really one major thing I want to see done to the Thorn. I want to see it useful in PvE. The Year 1 Thorn was completely useless in PvE. It was truly a PvP weapon. I don't want that. I want to see it in PvE. From my understanding, that was their original intention for the gun, but it never manifested. So hopefully they can do that this time around. Oh yeah, and the other thing, considering the original quest line for the damn thing involved using a void weapon in the Crucible, hey, how about we do something silly here and make it void damage? I'm just saying. That makes perfect sense to me. Especially considering I had to do it after the auto rifle nerf. Fucking hated my life for 2 weeks. Fuck that guy. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I will be back soon enough with more. Until next time. Adios. A Year 2 player and did not get the opportunity to participate in last year's Bungie Day. Bungie Day last year was when we had our Moments of Triumph reveal, which, you know, hey, cool. We found out this is the thing you can do, and you'll get this unique item that's exclusive to those who complete these Moments of Triumph, which is a cool thing, except you had to wait.